in your opinion, do you think he poses a threat to Britain?
Of course, look, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that even then, when I was working with him and we got a chance to sort of get him to see things a little bit differently, and I thought it would take us, a little bit more time to get him to see things completely differently. But for him to say now that he's made a mistake, I mean, look, there's lots to think about here. One, he's being incarcerated. He's potentially going to face a heavy, a long prison sentence, potentially even death. But also, they've also been ditched by the leadership of ISIS. So there's a number of things that are going on here. But I would still say he poses a threat. But we can turn that threat into promise if we get a chance to work with the individual.
You tried to help him, didn't you, in the period 2015-2016, yet he is still out there. So what happened?
Well, over the course of the time that we were working with him, it was confrontational. But I see when you're having an intervention with an individual like him, and you've got like a debate going, and that's healthy. To have a conversation was the first part of an intervention. We were getting along pretty good. We were moving along. We were getting him to see things a little bit differently. We were having the conversations, the dialogue. But then all of a sudden, the leadership race for the PM's office became quite open for Theresa May, and this was too risky of a case for me to be working with whilst being funded by the government.
Well, how was that then? How was it too risky if you'd made all this headway and suddenly the leadership campaign came up?
Well, because the parents, unfortunately, against our advice, against other people advising them, decided to send money anyway to Jack. And that was, obviously, as you know, it's an offence. And we saw it over the last few weeks, that they almost were imprisoned. And because an investigation was around the family and around the case, and I was a government-funded and a government-supported intervention provider. At that time, it was quite sensitive for the Home Secretary at the time, whilst buying for the leadership of the Conservatives. The advisors didn't want any negative media coverage around Theresa May at that time, so we got dropped. It was as simple as that. Unfortunately, our programs like this, interventions at a level, a high-risk level, became something that was too risky for the PM and the Home Secretary at that time to be taken on because of what was going on with her political career and her political ambitions. Unfortunately, that's the fact, and I've got the emails to prove that.
So are you saying that the parents, what they did by sending money, which, as we know, on Friday they were convicted and were given a suspended sentence, are you saying that what they did in sending this money jeopardised what you were doing?
Absolutely, because they broke the law. And by breaking the law, it became an investigation, a criminal investigation, around the family, around me as an intervention provider. Things needed to be looked at was whether to sort of look at how we were advising or not advising the family. And because of that investigation, at a time when it was very important for Theresa May to become PM, became too much of a risky business. So people like me got dropped, and unfortunately, so did all of the serious and high-risk intervention work that came along with the work that I did. And that's an unfortunate reality of the way politics go here. But with regards to the family, it's sad that they're going through this. I appreciate that, that they wanted to do everything for their child. But at the same time, the law is the law, and unfortunately they broke that.
When you last had contact with Jack Letts, what was this, 2016, how far had you got in your attempts to try to de-radicalise him?
Well, we managed to get him climb down from 10 steps to around about 7 steps, where he started to apologise to the way he was speaking to his parents. He started to apologise with some of the abrupt and disrespectful behaviour he showed towards me. And then he started to talk about how he kind of differed with the ideology of ISIS. But his difference of opinion around that and my difference of opinion around that may be different. And those were his words. But it was a climb down. It was a significant climb down from where we started. But it was good for us because it gave us an opportunity to turn a potential threat like him into a potential promise. And it was about we started to discuss, ways of escaping, ways out. And that's why I think the mother was so emotionally driven to try to help him get away, and she wanted to send him money because she thought that that money may help him escape.
And of course, we've just seen in our interview with him, he says he misses his mother, but he has admitted at one time he was prepared to carry out a suicide attack. So what would be the reaction in the UK if he were to try to get back, do you feel?
I think the people in the UK have got a right to have their belief that he's a threat, and he's made his decision and he should never be allowed back. I understand that and appreciate that. However, from an expert's perspective, working with individuals like that, we've got a problem in our society. We've got radicalisation and extremism is growing on both sides of the divide, whether it's far right or whether it's from a religious perspective. And I look at individuals like Jack as potential opportunities to turn those threats, to rehabilitate them, to reintegrate them, and make them tools and assets to protect others from being radicalised or driven down the same path and to follow an ideology like ISIS. So I would look at that as an opportunity potentially, and if he doesn't reintegrate, and if he doesn't, he's in prison, and he will be in prison for a very long time. But I will emphasise that with people like that, we need to work with them to turn the system around, to make them assets and tools to prevent others and safeguard our society.